And I'm back with Who Would Win. So I'm late on this. I apologize. Stuff came up. But I'm here with Who Would Win. And as I said, every week now leading up to The Force Awakens, there's going to be at least one Star Wars character involved in this Who Would Win. So this week is Darth Vader versus Gandalf. Now this happened in Bat in the Sun channel plug. They're a very entertaining site. Did a fan vote on who would win, and Vader ended up winning. And it's a live action. If you've never watched Bat in the Sun, they do basically fan votes, and they actually direct a live action battle with these two characters. It's awesome. It's fun as hell. So they did Gandalf versus Vader, and Vader ended up winning. Now that being said, who would actually win in this fight? Who would legitimately win in this fight when you think about it? So I got my list. And I'm going to start with Vader because Vader's going to be the one with more details about him, and I'll get to why that is in just a second. So Vader stands at 2.02 meters tall, which is roughly about 6 foot something, and weighs about 136 kilograms with his armor on. Now, he's the Lord of Sith, he's Master of Dark Side, but he's a very conflicted character at points. He has a distaste for dishonesty and deception. He's far more willing to fight in the front lines. He's a frontline fighter. He's self-hating, though, almost killing himself at one point. He will injure himself to, take out an opponent, such as when he fought a duplicate of Darth Maul. He has much regret over the death of Padme. He has very hard... His emotions will get to the point where he can't channel his dark side properly. At one point, he actually tries to heal himself with the Force. Or anytime he tries healing himself with the Force, it only lasts a couple minutes because he can't be at peace for too long for some reason because the dark side comes in conflict with that. Now he's a brilliant strategist. He's a tactical mastermind. He is a very dominant figure, very imposing. And then you get into his abilities. He's a brute force of a being. He's lost the agility with his suit, but he's still quite agile for given his suit, and he can augment it with the Force. He's a master of Form 5, give me 1 second, Form 5 Surisu? Which is essentially an aggressive form of combat. Where, actually, Form 5, I believe, is not Surisu. Surisu is the defensive form. But, Form 5 is the most aggressive form. So I'm a very skilled practitioner of Ataru, which uses agility and flips. Though not as often as he should. Surisu, which is a defensive form. Makashi, which is a dueling form. And then Juyo, which is Juyo, or Biped, as the Windu came to adhere to it. Juyo is a aggressive form with wide arcs, I believe. So he's a master combatant with his lightsaber, which is a dual phase blade. Now it's a power tool. It's very thick, heavy. It can adjust the length to double the length. It uses a red synthesized crystal, which has more cutting power in the Star Wars universe than a normal lightsaber crystal does, but it's more unstable. Hence why you see Kylo Ren's saber in the trailers looking all chaotic. It's a poorly made saber. It's a synthetic crystal. Those things are unstable. That thing looks like it will blow up anytime he ignites the damn thing. So he's but his is more eloquently built. So... He's, as I said, he's less agile with the armor on, but he compensates for that by having far more durability and speed. He is basically a tank. His armor on certain parts of him can more or less tank lightsaber blows. Not completely block them, but it can definitely cut down on the cutting power of a lightsaber. Now he can't be surprised and caught off guard if he's underestimating his opponent, such as he did with Luke in their very first fight, and many other opponents in the extended Legends lore. Also, Galen Merrick, I think is basically the Force Awakens character, Star Killer. He also had him. He was also taken by surprise by him. So then we go into his Force abilities, and he's also a very skilled hand-to-hand combatant. He can just crush a man's throat with his bare hands, no Force required. But when you get to his Force abilities, his skill with the Force Choke and Force Crush, even rupturing internal organs, crushing droids with just skill. He's a master of energy, not master, but he's skilled at energy absorption. I swear to drunk, I'm not good. No, energy absorption. Oh man, why am I having trouble with that word today? Energy absorption. Absorption. Don't know why I'm having trouble with the word absorption for today. Energy absorption. So he's very skilled with that. Like when he absorbed Han's lightsaber blasts. He's done that before multiple times. I think he can even do that with a lightsaber. I'm sorry, his blaster blasts. Bolts. Blaster bolts is the term. His laser blasts. And I believe he can also do that with a lightsaber as well, as many others have done. He's also skilled at force barriers. The saber throw he's good at. Now, I'm not going to use the Kinite ability because it's hinted that it was only in the presence of a powerful force-based crystal that was fueling him. So I'm not going to go with that because that's conditional. He's skilled with telepathy and uprooting knowledge from individuals using the Force. He's force push and telekinesis. He's a master of telekinesis. Best example you can think of is when he's fighting Luke in the Cloud City. And at first, Luke's like, "Hey, I'm kind of doing well." Then he just lures him into place with a bunch of things. And he's like, "I'm going to just throw stuff at you." He doesn't even need to use the hand gesture. You're like, it's like, "Ow, he hit me with a tissue box." Which actually was kind of a thing. It wasn't a tissue box. It was like a music box or something like that. He still hit Luke with it at one point. As I said, force push, super skilled with force push. I'll just blast the guy out. Physical augmentation. He's already basically a human tank at this point. He can augment himself even further, just, bear down his weight and power on someone. Now, he's not invincible, though. He's carries a lot of guilt with him. He's even tried to kill himself at one point, I believe. And in the end, he was not fully evil. Luke was able to bring him back to the light side of the Force. So there was always that confliction and that regret and real feeling he was unredeemable. Hell, in one of the what if stories, he actually didn't die. He was saved and went to hunt down the Emperor with his kids, and he wears an all new white armor, which it was actually still kind of bad. It was actually even more badass in white than it was in black. At least I think so. I'm like, dude, that looks even cooler. So yeah, Vader, man. I mean, he's got his control panel. Obvious weakness. He's learned to compensate for that. Electrical outputs can definitely short him out, and that would be a problem. He can sustain himself for a little bit with the Force, and if he's angry, he can sustain himself easily with the Force for quite some time. And he's still human. He can still, he's more machine now than man, but he's still human. You can cut off a limb. That happened. He can be killed still. He was killed in the Return of the Jedi, so he's not invincible. But he's Vader for a reason, baby. Now Gandalf. I couldn't find anything about Gandalf's height. I'm guessing how tall he is in comparison to, say, Bilbo or Frodo. He's at least 6 foot something. I'm gonna say maybe like 6'3" or something. And for a man his size, that height, his thin build, he's probably only maybe like 160, 170. So, that being said, he is from a race called the Malaire, I believe. I'm probably mispronouncing it. I'm not as big on Lord of the Rings as, other people. I like them, but just not my particular nerd out thing. However, this is interesting because Marlar, he's an ancient race, the Ishtar and all that. That was their race, and he basically took a human form, became a wizard on Earth, and wandered around, doing a whole bunch of magical stuff. And he's like he's like a millennia old at least. And he was the wisest among them, but not the most powerful at the time. Then he became Gandalf the White, and pretty much was the most powerful wizard on Middle Earth because Saruman was defeated, more or less. He carries a sword, Glamdrill. I believe that's the name. Glamdrill. Or the foe hammer, as it is. It's a long sword, two-handed, but he usually uses it one, oftentimes in conjunction with his staff. And he's very skilled in using it. Then, of course, he has his wizard staff, which is used for implementing his magical abilities, and can be used as a melee weapon. Now, when looking at this, it's a little hard to do, because we don't know the full extent of Gandalf's abilities. We see what we know. We know what happens in the books, and then The Lord of the Rings is nothing more than just a rehash of the books. So it's really hard to go by what we know of Gandalf. But if we're to just go by what we know in the movies, and that anything Gandalf the Grey can do, Gandalf the White can do, and probably more powerfully, Then let's look at this. Now, he can call the giant eagles. That's obvious. He can communicate with animals. He has his staff, which can light up and repel the darkness, too. He can repel evil quite powerfully. He was able to hold off Sauron for a little while in The Hobbit until, Sauron! And then his staff, where did he get a new staff? That's why can he just conjure a new staff? I'm a little confused on that. But, yeah, he's powerful enough to repel evil with his staff. Anything like with an evil aura, heart, or alignment, just, where's our master? Where is he? There he is everywhere. And then, that giant, it's still an awesome scene. Just fighting with light energy is that's an awesome scene still. And then, he's able to break stone. He can channel lightning into his blade, and I think along with his conjunction with his staff, and bring down a Balrog. For a guy who's probably a millennia-year-old, he's surprisingly fit for a millennia-year-old to be able to do combat on that level still. Even in fight a Balrog, but that being said, the Balrog nearly killed him. He was lucky to survive that. In fact, they even said, I think, that he did die at one point. He was temporarily dead, but he was able to be brought back by Galadriel. Then that does bring into a few accounts. And there's also, again, his staff, like when he was using on, oh man, what was the king's name? The one who was more or less blessed by Sauron with Wormtongue as a little henchman. Who was his name again? I'm blinking on his name, but he more or less kicks Sauron's influence out of his body. He's able to repel evil. And I will draw you out of him like poison from a wound. Just, you can't, if you do it, you kill it. Yeah, no, I won't. What? Ah! And then Sauron's just like, what happened? So, yeah, Gandalf's got quite a laundry, and that's just the stuff we see, and I'm not even counting Return of the King, which I don't know a lot about, because that's the one I haven't seen in full. But, he can summon a blinding light, from there to, blind his enemies like he did in the Battle of Helm's Deep. He's able to repel, he repelled arrows from, Legolas, he caused the axe broke against him. He did something right, and then he somehow made Aragorn's sword superheated. That's why he dropped his sword in that fight. So he's probably capable of near anything. But it's all about what the limitations of what we see him do. Oh, he turned pine cones into bombs at one point. That was fun. I'm trying to think of a few other things he did. He smashed stone twice. So we saw it in The Hobbit, and then we saw him do it with the Balrog bridge. I'm trying to think of anything else that noteworthy I've seen him do. Not really anything else noteworthy. I mean, he's got a couple of allies, but besides the eagles, which I might include in this, we're not including Radagast or the bear guy, which that's the only way I know him as the bear guy. But Gandalf can easily still be killed. He's got a human form. He can be killed fairly easily. He died against the Balrog pretty much for a little while until Galadriel saved his butt. And he's old. I mean, he's fit for his age, like a millennia's age, but he's old. His age it does catch up with him. I mean, The Hobbit takes place 70 years before the first Hobbit. That's 70 years older he is. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for that. Sorry, a bit of a post-nasal drip for fall. It's finally starting to get cooler out here now. Granted, I'm still relatively fine, but when come the night, it's going to be definitely cooler out here, which makes sleeping nice. But, excuse me. Oh, I just got to straighten out. I feel like I'm all kind of hunched up today. I don't know why. Kind of just tense for some reason. But the point being is that, yeah, Gandalf is very powerful, but he's still a mortal man in that form. He's a man, but he's not a human. he's a wizard. It's a class. It's a race, actually. So, oh, little squirrel. Sorry, I heard that thing. I'm like, is that an animal? What is it? So, yeah, that's Gandalf. Now, honestly, the way I see this fight happening is actually similar to the way Bat in the Sun did it. Vader comes down to Middle-earth, which in this case we'll call a different planet altogether. And on a TIE fighter, and it's like, give me the ring. It's like, no, fool of Odin, you cannot have it. And then, it's a foolish wizard. So it's going to be basically Vader is easily the more physically imposing of the two. He will probably try to just, maybe do a force choke or something like that. And Gandalf will be taken back by this. However, he'll use his staff to throw him back. And Merlin's like, oh, then, they'll go back and forth. Maybe a force push here, staff push there. Gandalf will bring out his sword. And Vader will bring out his lightsaber. Now, I'm not certain if when he used that lightning enhanced blade thing against the Balrog, if that could have been kept going for a longer time, like for an extended period of time. If we were to go with the idea that it can be that lightning charged sword, empowered blade could be maintained for an extended period of time, would that be able to combat a lightsaber, given the fact it's probably electricity and magically endowed electricity channeling through that sword? Yeah, I would say he could probably do it. Now, they'll probably clash back and forth, but unfortunately, years of experience, I'm afraid, is... what's the best way to put this? Gandalf's years of battle experience are slightly hindered by his age and the fact the type of sword weapon it is. We're dealing with a long sword here. It's still a magical onside. He's still a skilled swordsman, but it still has the weight of a long sword. A lightsaber does not have that disadvantage. A lightsaber is basically the handle and almost no mass to the blade. That's why most Jedi are the only ones, and Sith Force users are the only ones capable of really utilizing a lightsaber properly. Well, with a few exceptions, like Grievous is a droid, or android, cyborg, he can compensate for that. Boba Fett can use a lightsaber now and then. Human, non-Jedi, non-Force users can use lightsabers, but it's still more likely you'll see a Force user use it. And that's why it's so difficult. Not only that, Vader is a master of multiple forms of lightsaber combat instead of just, a standard. So, unfortunately, Vader's got an edge right there. Now, if we believe that the lightsaber can't cut through the electrically empowered blade, Gandalf then has to resort to a few other things. Maybe he tries to discharge electricity, which Vader can absorb it, but it could also short out his shit for a while. And that, I think, would happen. He would catch on to that, see this weird control thing, it's like, it's important. And because he's Gandalf, he's wise. He can point out an enemy's weakness. So he'll more than likely try to short him out. And Vader will be taken back by this. Now, granted, he'll supplement his time with the Force. It won't last forever. It usually lasts like maybe an hour. But he can supplement himself for the time being. And then he'll just start throwing. Then that's when the telekinesis starts coming in. He'll start throwing rocks and trees. Gandalf will definitely have some trouble, though. He'll be able to smash a couple with his staff. He'll be like, ah! So Gandalf, this is Gandalf the White, by the way. So now we're getting into some interesting territory. He's going to sense the issue, the turmoil. I sense your turmoil. I sense your hate. It will not prevail. And then that's when that giant evil force wall or good wall of light comes in. And Vader's going to be blown back by this. Oh my God, Vader is going to be thrown for a loop by this. Oh man, honestly, I'm going to get to how this fight's going to end in just a bit. But so this is what's going to be the drawing point. Can he draw out the evil in Vader and remove it? No, I don't think he can. And here is why. Vader is so self-hating and self-loathing that it would all this drawing out his hate, because it would bring to the surface all his memories and shit, and it would just infuel his rage. When Vader is infueled with force-driven rage, he is a near unstoppable killing machine, and he will break free of that. He will crash through those force barriers and probably just throw him against the wall, like Sauron did, oddly enough. Throw him against the wall and then just skewer the hell out of him. And then just cut him down. And that's how I think is that Vader's going to win this, but it's going to be because Gandalf makes a fatal flaw in trying to take out the evil in his heart and try to draw out the evil and defeat the evil in him. That is going to be Gandalf's biggest flaw for sensing the evil and trying to do something about the evil. Like he did with again, I wish I could remember his name. It's King of Rohan, I believe. Like he did with him. He drew out the evil, that's the influence of Sauron and the possession of him. He would try to draw out the evil of Darth Vader and maybe try to remove it like he did with him. And that would work so horribly against him because Vader would just be so freaking pissed at that point that he wouldn't care what damage has to be. He just wants to cut this old man down. And then the beauty of it is he'll just take the One Ring from Frodo after probably killing the young hobbit and then be like, oh, wait, sustain life for a while. Just going to go back and get my suit repaired while I wear this One Ring of power. Yeah. I have the One Ring, my lord. I am the greatest. And then just cuts down the other. I rule. Padme, I miss you. So, yeah, but let's play a little devil's advocate here. I'll actually start, now that I think about it with these who would wins, I'm going to do the one I think is going to win most of the time, which I think is Vader. But let's do a little hypothetical here and say how Gandalf would win. I believe how Gandalf would win is that he would sense this guy who, in Middle-earth terms, would probably be on the level of Sauron, in terms, or at least Saruman, on how bad this dude is. It's like, call the eagles. And the eagles come, and now Vader's got giant birds to contend with. So though he has animal handling experience, so he could probably try to calm down, but these are very specific eagles, so I don't think they could be influenced by Vader very easy. So Vader just starts cutting him down, and then he basically takes his staff and just plunges it straight into him, probably breaking his already broken chest piece. Not stabbing him with the staff, but then again drawing the evil out thing. And during that point, if he senses Vader's net, and which I do believe this is still happening, Vader's overcoming this, that's when he takes his sword, does one more lightning ability, and then just takes him out. And just... And again, he uses his staff in conjunction too, so it would be an interesting kind of melee fight with him. But again, I do believe that Gandalf's tactics would work against him. Plus, his age would be a factor too. Vader has the clear-cut clear-cut advantage in physical feats, just because he's younger and has cybernetics, so he has physical. He can tank a lot of blows too. The only way I think Gandalf will actually land a killing blow, because he's survived even. Oh, my battery's dying, so I'm almost done with this video anyway. So the only way the Vader could really be taken out is like maybe a stab to the heart. Even then, I think he could survive that for a time because he's frickin' Vader. Or decapitation. I think Gandalf would have to go for the decapitation blow. And so that's how Gandalf would win if Vader didn't win the majority. I think Vader's winning the majority of this 65% of the time, I think. And I think it's because of that tactic of drawing the evil out. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Vader wins this fight. And let's be clear. I'm probably not going to design so every Star Wars character I do wins. But in this case, Vader did win. And there's probably going to be a case where a lot of Star Wars characters maybe do win. But I don't know. I had to do the research for those fights. So we'll see how that ends up going. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put it in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. So this week, I actually don't have any movies to see this week. There's nothing really coming to the mainstream cinemas. I'll have another Who Would Win up. I'll have a movie news up. I'll maybe even do a movie news when I get home. There is a bit of news to talk about on the Disney front. So there's not much to talk about this week unless stuff comes up. So I'll talk about stuff when it comes up. So thanks a lot. Oh, I got my 2 Star Wars videos too. I forgot about that. So I'll get to those when I get to those. So thanks for watching. See you next time.